Welcome back to Get Paid for Your Pad, #1 podcast on short-term rentals and Airbnb. And today I'm joined by Mr. Robertin Nunez, who is a good friend of mine. Actually, he's a corporate travel specialist in the short-term rental industry. He operates close to 100 units in 12 different cities, operating out of Philadelphia and Miami. I spent New Year with Mr. Nunez in Aruba, where he hosted an amazing co-working villa a couple of years ago. So good memories. So excited to have you back on the show, Robert. How's it going?
Yeah, everything's going well. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. You're looking fit. You're looking still sane after doing this for a couple of years.
Yeah, man, you gotta keep healthy.
Yeah.
Going to the gym twice a day. At my age, that's kind of necessary.
Are you still doing the long term biking?
Not so much now because here in Panama, it's too hot, man. And
Oh,
it's too
you'll
humid.
pass out.
The climate is not very cycler friendly, and also it's dangerous. Like people drive
Mm,
like crazy here. Like I don't,
okay. Yeah.
kind of like in how it is in Aruba, I imagine.
Yeah. Stay in the gym then. Okay.
Awesome, man. Well, it's great to talk to you again. And I'm excited about today's topic. I'm sure you would agree that with the amount of supply hitting the market in the short-term rental industry, and as the industry is maturing and hosts are becoming more professional, it's very important for us to choose a niche, right? And the corporate travel niche sounds like a very interesting niche. We haven't talked a lot about it on this podcast, so I'm excited to learn more about it. But why don't you give us a quick background of how you got involved in Airbnb and what you're doing now?
Okay. Sure. Well, corporate travel. We've been in the corporate travel space since '98 because we used to own a celebrity sports and entertainment travel company. And most of our clients were business. Like we had Tops, the baseball card company, we had the Source magazine, we had a couple of music labels. So we represented a lot of the business travel. So I always knew that business travelers, they had to handle their work, they had to do what they had to do, and they expect to get what they're paying for. And believe it or not, they were flexible because they're working. They're just like, listen, just if something happens, just get it done. And it's good repetitive business. We migrated off of that space into the short-term rental for roughly about a decade. So we have about 10 years in. So we have a lot of experience there. Yet I've always been a fan of business travel. And for the past couple of years, we've reignited a lot of our old relationships in the corporate travel industry, and also the new relationships, and realizing that there's a huge gap between the short-term rental industry and the corporate travel industry. It's like there's a barrier, right? The corporate travel industry says this is how we do it. It's more professional. There's insurance with the property. We know what we're getting. We're not just showing up. We're not sending our high-level executives to a place that's not what is advertised as. Then there's the short-term rental industry that says we're more fluid, we're dynamic. What you consider to be a disruption, we love it because that's part of the change. So there's this disparity between both industries, but yet we're all trying to service a particular client to provide them with quality housing. So our time in the industry with corporate travel and our time in with the short-term rental industry has allowed us to create a very viable service where we know what to give the corporate traveler, but yet on a more fluid and a quicker basis, and actually more efficient, and in real time. So it's an interesting time that we're in. It's kind of like when the short-term rental industry first started, people didn't really know how to figure it out. So that gap, that gray area in the middle is hugely profitable and very lucrative and sustainable and scalable.
Yeah. You know, how's corporate travel doing right now? Because I remember like during COVID, it pretty much came to a halt, right? There
Mhm.
was very little business travel. And I know travel has recovered, but I'm not sure like how business travel is doing right now.
That's great. That's a great point. So it's different than what it was before, but not different in a bad sense. So, for example, COVID put everything to a stop, even short-term rental for a short time period. But during COVID, construction travel and the travel nurse sector, because everybody was sick, right? Construction, because the cities took advantage of everybody being home and they started doing all the infrastructure. Businesses, that were delayed or that companies didn't have time to build out. Now they had time to do it. So we wound up growing for 17 straight after April, roughly April going into May of during the COVID period. We wound up growing for 17 months straight, which was a blessing because we wound up pivoting into the business travel and we filled in the pockets of all these companies that were moving heavily because of COVID. Because COVID may have shut one thing down, but like in everything, when one thing stops, something else starts.
Mhm.
And then we just kept the momentum going forward. So
Yeah.
business travel now it's even better because now people don't just want to do the Zoom only. Now they're actually interested in the face-to-face convention and conferences, as you see on LinkedIn. They're everywhere now, and they're selling out. The VRMA 2022, I think they just had their first record-breaking year where it was entirely sold out. I went to a Vacation Rental World Summit in Portugal with Antonio, his organization, and there was I think 500 operators and managers there. Like so the in-person conventions are huge now. So corporate travel to me has actually made an amazing rebound.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess, when I think of corporate travel, I think of like high level executives, but I guess that's, business travel is much broader than that, right? You mentioned
Wait,
construction
absolutely.
workers, you mentioned travel nurses, so it's
Hmm.
much more than like that, that person with a suitcase, Fortune 500 like CEO type of thing.
Absolutely. And that's why there's such a gap in it because most people don't really have a clear definition of what corporate travel means. And my definition of it is you're traveling on business. Now, with that being said, how many businesses exist or how many reasons? Like I may travel to come and see you, to meet up with you. We'll have some good social time, but we're there to discuss something. It's still business travel. So
Mm.
it's if you're traveling for a business purpose, that is the definition of corporate travel.
Got it. Got it. What's like if for the regular Airbnb host who's interested in getting into or attracting these business travelers, is that something that you can do on the regular channels, right? Like Airbnb, VRBO, booking.com, or do you need to adopt a completely new marketing strategy to attract those travelers?
It's a combination of both. Business travelers may find you on the OTA platforms because they have travel departments or assistants that look up the research. Yet, your number one, your listing has to be a little tailored more to a business traveler, or you have to offer things that are, so for example, if you have a great listing and everything is about, hey, there's tons of bars and restaurants in the area, that might not be the message for a business traveler. You may want to pivot a little bit and say, quiet work environment, plenty of internet cafes locally. Change restaurants for internet cafes. Change bars for work from home environments. Easy access to public transportation. Things that meet the needs of a person who's traveling for business. And you have to step out of your OTA. You have to actually have a presence online. Like most PMSs, well, first of all, a lot of operators don't even have a PMS, right? But most PMSs have their own booking engine or direct booking site. So you have to have an access where the business traveler can find you as well. So the OTA and a location on how they can locate you, and you have to go after them. That's the biggest part.
Yeah. I think the bigger companies, I'm thinking of like the big consultancy companies and stuff, right? They typically have like a department that arranges all the travel for
Hmm.
the employees, right? So they don't necessarily book their own um travel. Is that something that you do as well, where you build relationships with the people that actually arrange this type of travel?
Absolutely. 100%, as you would say, 100%. Yes, the reason, well, first of all, at co-host, we have a service called Cotravel. So basically what Cotravel means is instead of a company setting up their own travel department, they white label us and they use us as their travel department.
Mm.
So everything that's housing related, they automatically just give it to us. We know the profiles, we know what the clients are looking for, we know the preferred cities and locations. We have a profile, an avatar. So instead of them uh, overwhelming their staff with the travel request, they just literally send it right directly to us. They also do have their own travel departments, and then we work with them hand in hand. And one of the key things about business travel and corporate travel and I want all the operators to know this and managers. It's still a lot of traditional sales. You have to get on the phone, like literally call someone, right? People don't do that anymore. You literally have to actually talk to these
Sounds
individuals.
scary.
Yeah, it sounds scary, right? I showed my kids a rotary phone. They didn't know what to do with it. They literally have to call these individuals and explain to this person, this client, that what you're giving them is what they're asking for. Because there's so much on the line. They're sending entire teams, their high level C-suite executives, or even just their basic staff. They want to know that these people are safe, that they're getting what they're paying for, that they are where they need to be at, that they can get in and get out with no friction. So it requires some conversation and some traditional sales, which is another reason why there's such a gap, Jasper, because the short-term rental industry, everything is click, 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 book. Nobody does click, 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 talk. So that's a big gap. But in the corporate travel industry, we talk to people, we have relationships, we honor our agreements, and we make sure that they have what they're asking for, or just tell them you don't have it. A business traveler and a business travel department would be happy to say, would respect if you say, hey, you don't have what we need, than to just give them something to fill in a night and then it's not what they need.
But how do you get started with that? Because like I'm sure you've been in the space for so long, you have these relationships with these companies, these businesses, but if I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a like a small Airbnb host with
Mm-hmm.
a couple of units, like do you just start calling companies and saying like, or how do you find out what business travelers actually visit your markets?
Okay, fantastic. Great question. Well, as of January forward, I think mid-January or February. No, actually, as of I think February. Our website, which is called livingquarters.net, is going to be fully up and launched and operational. And what that is it's a portal where operators can actually upload their units, and we can offer them out there to our corporate client base.
Mm.
Now, we're not accepting every unit. Units will be vetted. They have to have a certain criteria. They have to have certain amenities. In-unit washer dryer or in-building washer dryer. Minimum 600 megabytes Wi-Fi. They have to be, we do Google Earth. Actually, we have reps in certain cities that will literally go by and take a look at the units because safety and curb appeal is important. So then now there's going to be a portal where you're able to upload your properties to. When you upload your properties, and I don't think there's any cost for that. When you upload your properties, then we'll allow our travel clients to go onto the platform and take a look at it, and then they'll contact us through like a travel department, and then we'll connect the corporate traveler,
Mhm.
relocation companies with the host or the providers. Um, the host has to know their inventory. If they know that they have an inventory that's not business related or business strong, that's business focused a property, then don't even put it on the platform because it's not going to work for you.
Mhm.
So but yet you should still consider the business traveler as you're adding new inventory or with the current inventory you have. Like, will a business person, a business traveler, can this meet their needs?
Mhm.
So that's
So
one way
is
they
it
can do it.
is the website that you're launching, is it sort of like a furnace finders for
Bingo.
business travelers kind of thing?
Exactly. And that's actually a great site too. Big kudos to Brian Payne and his entire team, my friend. So funny, you're saying that, and I just got a Furnish Finder link hit right on my phone, literally right
Oh
now.
wow.
Yeah, big shout out to Brian and his entire team at Furnish Finder. That's a good platform for the travel nurse sector. So
Yep.
they'll go there. They're very niche to that and to other services. So it'll be the same. Right? So basically, you'll be able to go. Our clients will be able to go there to find accommodations, and our operators and buildings will be able to upload into the platform. So it's a combination of both, and
Mhm.
that's where the interaction takes place.
Yeah. I'd love to touch on some kind of like out of the box thinking type of strategies. One thing that comes to mind as we're talking about this, I can't remember who told me this, but anyway, like I heard about people that what they would do is like they go to the hotels in their market and they look
Mm-hmm.
at like the brands of the vans that are parked outside,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that gives you an indication of like, hey, who's what kind of companies are visiting here, right?
Yeah.
And like I've even heard about people like walking into the hotels and just, literally like checking out the bar and like seeing who's there and start talking to people and finding out like, hey, and you find out like, oh, there's a construction crew at the hotel here. And
Hmm.
it's like, hey, do you like staying at the hotel here? Like, I've got some nice apartments, do you guys want to have your own kitchen?
Yeah.
And then that way it's kind of, I like the hustle of that, but what are your thoughts on those type of strategies?
Um, I love it. Anything that's going to increase the occupancy and bring our niche client to our property, I'm all for it. That's a great way to do it. That's one, right? That's actually very creative. A little more traditional, but that people have just forgotten to do is you can actually go to the Visitors Convention Bureau in your city or town,
Mm,
and in the Visitors Convention Bureau and the convention centers, right? The Visitors Bureau and the Convention Center. They're going to have a list of all the conferences that are coming into the city. So then you reach out to these conferences and you say, hey, you're coming into the city. We have inventory. We'd like to see if we can offer you what we have. But remember, you got to have your package ready. And then you contact these people and you say, hey, listen, I have 14 units in downtown Austin. I know that you're coming down for the Austin. Well, here in Philadelphia, you're coming for the arts and crafts show from November to the end of December. There's 60 nights that you're here because it says it on the website when they're going to be there. You got 100 vendors. So now you have 60 nights and you have 100 vendors. So let's just technically say that each vendor only needs 2 apartments. So that means you have 200 apartments times 60 nights. That's 1,200 nights, right? That's huge. And then you'll take that and you say, we have these units. We want to offer that at a discount for this convention or for this show that you're having. Please contact us. We'll be happy to help. And then the phone may ring. That's just one way. And that information is available and free to everybody. It's already there at the Convention Bureau.
mm,
And then whenever you do get another way is when people book on your OTA, and you'll sometimes see on VRBO or Booking or Airbnb that they're booking for a company. You have to contact the individual and say, hey, we know that you're here for business in the future. We appreciate your business. If you're coming back, contact us. We'll give you 10% off. And, we'll be more than happy to host you because they already used your place. Now, hopefully they have a good experience. That's just another way. When they're opening a new restaurant, right? So if you go to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they normally will tell you what businesses that registered with them that are opening up in your city or town. You then contact the construction companies that are working on these properties
mm.
because they have crews that are coming in, or they'll have somebody they need to bring in, a specialist or something. That's another corporate travel. So there's so many different avenues. You could go to the hospitals. You could pin it up on the board, say that you have properties near the hospital. There's so many. It's just, but it requires you to be creative. And I think, Jasper, what happens is it requires you to work. People wake up and they just want to see the reservations on their platform, right? I get it. You did it. I did it. I understand that. But if you want to make that quantum leap to the next level, then you have to make the quantum leap yourself. It's not just waiting for somebody to bring business. You got to go out there and get some of your own business as well.
Are you telling me we can't get rich sleeping?
Um, I'm not going to say that because you can get rich sleeping, but when you're awake, you got to work on making sure you're going to get rich while you're sleeping. There you go, right? It's an ebb and flow because I love waking up and seeing reservations. I'm like, this is great, but I know that it came from somewhere, right?
Yeah, for sure. We just had Mark Simpson. You're familiar with Mark, of course.
Yeah, right.
Um, we just had him do a training in our Legends X group last week, and one of the things that he said that I thought was really powerful, he was saying like it's the old school marketing tactics that are really powerful right now because everyone, like you said, like everyone's just so used now to just go, create a listing,
Click, click, click.
sit behind the safety of your desk and just manage everything from your laptop. Like
Yep,
it's the old school stuff, like putting up flyers, like calling people, right?
yeah.
Like
Calling
the
people.
old, like the old school marketing tactics that are really powerful right now. That's
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
what I hear you saying too.
yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, yeah. I mean, first of all, big shout out to Mark. We actually are a co-author in his book, which is called the book. Shameless plug, right? But he's got the book, and we're in here as co-hosts. And actually, our chapter is specifically on corporate travel. Like we're literally
Mhm.
talking about, what it is in the corporate travel industry, how to develop your plan, your strategy. And it's only a chapter, so we couldn't get super in depth, but there's so much more to it. I'll give you one. So we've actually secured a portion of the midterm election in the United States. So we're going to be representing some organizations during their travel. Now, most people are sitting home watching the elections, watching the ads, watching the news. We're accommodating the housing for the people that are in this election, or that are part of these campaigns and so forth. That's a huge amount of business, that exists. And these campaigns will go nationwide. So people have to try to tap into them and say, hey, well, where are these interns and these assistants and these volunteers, where are they staying at? Because they may not be getting paid to work, but they do have to get, their housing has to be accommodated. So old school tactics on finding sales is hugely important. And you also have to level up your game. I'll give you a very big example. If you're thinking about going into the corporate travel space and sector, you have to make sure that you have insurance. You have to make sure that these properties have insurance, that you're not just winging it, because these individuals, it's a business. So you have to treat it like a business. Like we're very fortunate. We use a person named Elizabeth Soley from Jacob Street, and they help us create like tailor-made insurance packages for different type of properties, things of that nature. So because this is a business, it's not just, well, the OTAs are providing insurance. No, you have to act involved as well.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the biggest advantages of being in the corporate travel niche as an operator?
Man, that's great. First of all, the quality of guests is to me, the quality of guests is more preferable, because I'm a business person, and I'm there to do what I need to do. They come in, they handle what they need to do, and then they keep it going. So and they take care of the place. They're never home. They're definitely not throwing parties. So that whole part goes right out the window. Saying, then the extensions. So one of the biggest gifts is extensions. So yesterday, one of our clients, we have agreements in Reno, Nevada, and by Lake Tahoe. And we have a reservation over there for 39 apartments for, I think it's like 60 days. And yesterday they contacted me and they said, well, we need an additional 17 apartments extended for another 7 to 10 nights. That's now 170 nights. They already said they need it. It's a guaranteed booking already. So, because sometimes you don't finish your work on time, so then you need an extension, and they don't want to move to another place. So that's one. The upsell. If you have a staff, you can actually offer a weekly house cleaning, which then keeps your team eating and working. So then now you upsell. So, you put a small margin on the upsell, but now you're making residual money every week. Your staff is working more, so they're earning more. Everybody's happy. The guest is happy because the place looks great every time. They don't really want to leave at all. So those, you could actually address little repairs that are needed while they're there. So the upsell, the extensions are great. The referrals. If you land the right corporate client and you pinch them, you have them. They may be returning every year for business. So now you're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 years of consistency. Now you're not looking at it as a lifetime, because it's a business, they may change. But if you can get 2 or 3 years, so if you got like this client right now, so they did 170 nights in these 10 days. If they gave me 170 nights 3 years in a row, that's great. And I mean, we already got them for 60 nights for 39 apartments, right? So that's good. So if 2 years they come back, or 1 year, so imagine having 20 clients like that would repeat every year, even if it's 100 nights, 200 nights, 50 nights. Then now what happens is what's happened with us. Our short-term rental is our filler space, is our gaps between our corporate business, which is a majority of our reservations. And that's a good place to be in, because you are the master of your revenue. So your money that's coming in, your revenue, your business is growing because of you as a business, not because somebody's just giving you reservations. And that's the difference between, an operator and an established, a business travel and an established management company.
So essentially, what percentage of your occupancy would you say is from the corporate travel companies outside of the OTAs?
Oh, right. So this quarter, well, the quarter that just passed, I'm sorry, the quarter that just passed, we probably had like a 67% business, 33% OTA and return.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it hard to use the OTAs just to fill up the gaps?
No, not at all. I mean, there's great dynamic software out there, like Price Lab and stuff that you could just set the algorithm, set the conditions to fill in your gap time. So it's really not,
Sure.
there's always somebody looking for 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 nights, right?
Yeah.
And if you only enough OTAs, you'll get that.
Yeah, and yeah. Now the reason I'm asking is what I sometimes see is that if I feel like sometimes the OTAs they prefer to push the listings that get booked a lot on their platform versus the listings that have limited availability. So that's
That's
why I was
actually,
asking.
no, that's a good point, right? So they're definitely gonna show when you do your, because you search your own stuff, right? People search. So you'll definitely see your higher performing properties come up quicker. Because as a business, they're like, well, this is booking a lot, so let's make sure that this is seen so we could keep right. So that makes sense. Um, but you still have to have your stuff up there. So would I not want to do business travel because I'm getting less viewership on the OTA? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because then again, that means that I'm at the mercy of another business giving me business as opposed to our company going out and generating business.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Airbnb just announced that they're going to make some changes to the search algorithm. I don't know if you saw the memo, but Brian Chesky announced that they're going to now show the total price of the booking in
Right,
search,
right. Right up
and they're
front.
going to use that. Yeah, they're going to use that as a priority to ranking, right? So instead of like you know how they used to look at the daily rate, and they would show like the most affordable listings given the parameters. Now they're
Mm,
going to not just look at the daily rate, they're going to look at the total price of the booking. So, I mean, that's one thing. That's one reason why it's good to have a direct booking flow. Have your own, customer flow outside of the OTAs because they can always change something, and then that might change your visibility in the search rank, and it might change the bookings that you get.
that's actually yeah, very accurate because see, they're gonna do what works for them, right? And they're gonna do what works for them for their business model, like all of us would. Now, what works for them may not necessarily is too many operators out there on the platforms. Some operators that's not going to work for. Some people get drawn in by a low number, and then by the time they make the reservation, they see the total number, but the person's already invested some time, then they book it. Now they're showing the total number in the beginning, so that's definitely going to change how people are selecting, right? Yet, as your own business, what are you doing to generate your own revenue? What are you doing to provide some consistency? Because and I don't know if you believe this or not or think so, but to me, it seems that many individuals in this space are just waiting for a reservation instead of creating a reservation. There's a difference there. Like I already know what conventions are coming into our cities, so we've already contacted these people. Now, one lands, we created that reservation. There's a lot of power in running your own business and running your own revenue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I always think back to the times when there was no internet. You know, like how do you get a customer? There's no internet.
you know, you know, that's funny, right? Because when we started when we had our entertainment and corporate travel business in it was called Flights Club in 1998. We used to go to events with flyers. We would mail flyers. We would send faxes. We would send proposals. We would have face-to-face meetings and convince them why they want to use our travel company over the other one. No internet, right? And now the internet has done amazing things because now we can have those same conversations via Zoom, like we're having right now, with individuals across the world, right? Yet you could still close the deals. There's still
Mm.
certain elements that are still valuable that we were able to kind of roll over, modified with some new technology, and still use them now. So yeah, you have to go out there and
You
build your
know,
business.
this reminds me of one of the first times I traveled with my friends. This must have been, I don't know, 1995 or 1996, somewhere around that time. But I just remember like back then you wouldn't use the internet to book a flight or like a hotel. Also, there was no
Interesting.
Google Maps, right? Or Google Earth or things like that. So I remember we flew out to Thailand and I had no idea what it even looked like, the country. I just thought it's a big jungle, right? That's what
Hmm.
I thought. And like, yeah, we would just literally like go to a travel agency, book a flight, and then I remember we arrived at this in this town on the beach somewhere, and we just walked around with our suitcases, and we just
Hmm.
went into some hotels and asked them like, "Hey, how much is a room?" Right, and then we walked to the next hotel and ask how much is a room here, and we would
Hmm.
negotiate, and that's how we would find our accommodation. It's just kind of crazy how much everything has changed.
Thing, well, yeah, they didn't trust booking on the internet back then, or it wasn't available. But let me touch on something. Business travel and corporate travel is not an antiquated, and I'm only saying this because we're reminiscing a bit. It's not an antiquated business model or service. What it is, it's a serious business model and service, which means that the person, if you have properties and you want to attract high level individuals or companies or established businesses, and you want their consistent money, their consistent revenue, you want their consistent reservations, then you have to level up your inventory, you have to level up your message, you have to level up your listing, you have to level up your service that'll compensate for the money that they're going to pay you. So, for example, we're in the month of November. Our September and October were some of our highest earning months in a decade because of business travel. And we had the less amount of interaction with the guests. So we made an abundance of money. We booked an abundance of property with minimal work, quality minimal work, but still minimal work. And that is a sustainable, scalable business. So when we're talking about, when we're reminiscing a bit, it's not that the business travel world is not operating with the times. There's just, like I said earlier on, there's just a friction with, we want to know that this client, Apple, Nike, these clients, we want to know, and these clients, when I say Apple, Nike, they have divisions in different cities, right? So like one division of Apple in New York City or Google, that could be that's your home run. That is your all your expenses covered with one client, while then everything else is just profit. Just giving you an example, right? So these relocation companies and destination management companies and insurance relocation companies, they want to know that they're getting what they're paying for, and as you're advertising it. And when something happens during that time that they're with you, because things happen, right? Regardless how great a listing is. And when something happens, you have to have a response team, a response action that satisfies and mitigates the situation. It's just professional, legitimate business.
Before I let you go, I know you have about 100 listings, right, in 12 different cities. So that tells me you probably have a pretty good feel for where we're at in the market right now when it comes to short-term rentals. Obviously, you focus on business travel, so it might be different trends going on in your niche versus overall short-term rentals. But what are you seeing in terms of like demand? Where I'm hearing some stories from hosts, that bookings are softening up. There's talk about recession, inflation, like all this stuff. What's your perspective on this whole situation?
Okay, so we have 100 inbound listings, in-house listings. We have 3,200 doors because we have agreements with properties which give us a total of 3,200 within those 12 cities. So that's a great question because that actually gives us a very good pulse on what's happening. Um, in the 12 cities that we're in, everyone's anticipating this recession talk. Oh my God, things are, slowing down. We're not really seeing any. We're competitive. We modify our rates with our software, when it's required. Are we adding more inventory? Yes, but we're strategically adding the inventory. So, in the arbitrage model, you rent to re-rent, or you buy, renovate and get up and running. But now ours is we have collaborative agreements with other operators and with apart hotels, which we have agreements with these places that we can use them as we need them. And that's actually allowed us to, to expand and to grow. That's why we're at the 3,200 doors outside of what we have in house. Um, Softening markets or times. I think that each individual, each operator knows their market, and they know when their high, low, and mid season is. So there's kind of an understanding of what that is. But don't make drastic decisions and cuts or add a huge amount of inventory because you had a good month. You have to have a little bit of time in and look at your data and say, well, for the past 12 months or 18 months, this is how this is performing. And base your growth on your data, plus then your intuition and also, your expectancy. But don't just say, wow, we were booked all of October, and then you double your inventory. And in November is 50-50, December's holidays, and January you're tanking, right? If you're in the Northeast, because in the Northeast is cold. So leisure travel slows down. But if you have a year in, you have an idea of how your market flows. And that's one of the things I like to advise operators on, is not to be scared or worried about how to pull the trigger or how to activate and make a decision, but it's really to be mindful to the data, to take time to gather some of the data so then you can make accurate decisions as best as possible based on real information, not just I had a good month or my friends are doing well in this market, I'm going to go over there too. Because, I have a guy who says, hey, I'm thinking about going to this city, and he's never been there. Now, I understand it because I've opened cities I was never in. I went to Aruba, we were never there. But he doesn't have any data, but he's going on the successes of someone else. But this other person is a full-time property manager. Like, this other gentleman is about his business. So you can't think that you're going to get those successes because you're not doing what they're doing.
Amazing advice, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right,
It was
last
good to see
question.
you. Yep.
Do you miss Aruba?
I miss the great friends that I have there. Jay, Roger, like some good people. You met some of them, right? Yeah, you met some of the
Yeah.
people there. I miss the people there. I miss the chirping birds in the morning and the warm weather, right? Consistent. What I don't miss is, and because I'm biased to cities, once you live on an island and you've done it, then it's like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Right. And it just became like a little, it just didn't have enough movement and motion for me. Growing up in New York and in the East Coast, Miami, Philadelphia, that's what it was. But I do miss the warm weather and the blue waters. Yeah, man, I do. We enjoy and the kite surfing and stuff. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, that was great. The kite surfing there. For the people that are interested in hearing more from you, I'm gonna look up the episode that we did before about Aruba.
In Aruba.
While I
Yeah.
yeah, while I
Actually at the
do that,
table. Mhm.
what's that?
At the table, right? Remember? Yeah, we did at the table.
Yeah. While I do that, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, sure, absolutely. You can look us up. I'm on LinkedIn. You can look me up under Robertin Nunez or Co-Host Expert Company. Our platform for the corporate travel portal will be live on January, February 2023. It is livingquarters.net. You'll be happy. And I'm all about email. So you can shoot me an email. I even give you you can say Robertin, Robertin at cohost, COHOST expert.com. And if you say, hey, I saw you on the Jasper podcast, does he really ride a lot of bike? I'll answer you and then we could talk about and then I'll help you out with anything else. But Jasper's a great guy. I definitely enjoyed him. And his partner Eric that I got to meet.
Sweet man. Episode 368 is the one that
Thank you,
we
man.
did.
I was looking for that 360. Wow,
Yeah.
Jasper, 360. What episode are you in now?
We're around like 520 now.
Let me take a moment now to congratulate you guys and your team on your consistency. Like that's what this is about, consistency. So congratulations on that.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. If if people are interested, hosting remote workers in paradise is the episode that we did. We
Hosting
recorded it
remote workers in
live
paradise.
in Aruba at your at the villa that you had there. So
Absolutely.
awesome, Robert. Thanks so much, man. This was super informative, super cool. And I'm sure we'll have you back.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
in a
appreciate that.
couple
And
hundred
remember,
episodes.
we're on the Book Direct playbook, and you'll see us in the back when chapters specifically on corporate travel. I'll be happy to help you, and I'm looking forward to having more books on your book for you to have more books back there, because
Yeah,
you need a couple of more
send me
books,
a
Jasper.
copy.
No, where's your
Send me,
book? We need more books from you.
yeah.
All right.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
God bless, brother. Take care.
Cheers. Cheers, Robert. And to
All right.
listeners, thank you for listening. And of course, we'll be back soon with another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. See you then.
Thank you.